Hi, in this video, I'm going to go over the new features of CSM 6317. 6317 GA'd in March of 2026. As you can see, that we have a very feature-rich release this time, and so I'll go through these one by one. And you can see that across both Flash systems and DS8000, ZOS environments, all environments, and with a number of your own ideas from the customers implemented throughout the release. All right, so let's start with the first one. The first one is simply support for the HA Snapshots feature on Flash systems. So Flash Systems has had Power HA, PBR HA capabilities for a little bit now. CSM supports with PBR HA, but they've added in a new snapshot support where if you take a snapshot on the active management system, they will actually automatically replicate that snapshot to the secondary snapshot system, secondary HA system. And so this all happens automatically. In case there's a swap happens, unplanned swap happens, you have the snapshots, you have the data still there at the other management node. Now, CSM, we thought that we'd be able to pick this up right away, but unfortunately, because we were using an ignore legacy option when we create the snapshot, this caused some issues. So the reason why we had the ignore legacy option is we wanted customers to be able to migrate from the Safeguarded Copy 1.0 Flash copy technology to the Safeguarded Copy 2.0 snapshot technology. And so by issuing that snapshot with the ignore legacy option, it allowed both to exist on the volume group. Now, with HA on Flash systems, we found out they don't support that ignore legacy option anymore. But all HA functionality is within a partition. So as long as a volume group is within a partition, we know in CSM we don't need that ignore legacy option, and we'll stop issuing the snapshot. So you'll be able to now through CSM create your snapshots and run just fine, even if you have HA enabled. This HA snapshot feature enabled. Now, with that said, I also want to point out to you that CSM, as we discussed in the past, can make your life a lot easier in terms of managing snapshots with PBHA. And the reason is, PBRHA, I should say. The reason is if you're managing PBRHA, so you're doing the remote replication along with the high availability, so pre-site kind of solution, CSM will automatically create the session for that for you. And you can actually use that remote copy session, that PBR session, to manage your snapshots. So from that particular session, we allow you to do a create safeguarded snapshot, which is your local snapshot, as well as a create recovery site snapshot, which is your remote snapshot. Now, the beauty with the create local snapshot is CSM knows which is the active management system. So whether you've swapped or whatnot under the covers, you only have to schedule the snapshots to occur to this session, the PBR session, and CSM takes care of the rest. You can one schedule, one management. You don't have to worry about scheduling, doing a local schedule on one management system or the other secondary management system in case you swap. It's all covered by CSM. So highly suggest you take a look at that. All right, the next feature is another Flash Systems feature. So we had a customer come to us and say, yeah, this is great. We see now that in 6316, you create all these snapshot sessions by default for every volume group across every system that's tied to CSM. But now we still have to go into the scheduled tasks and create these individually to define what my retention and frequency is and take the snapshots. We would like you to do that CSM automatically. All of our volume groups are going to have the same frequency, same retention. Can you put a policy on it? And so that's what we did. So when you go into the connection you either create a connection or modify a connection for a Flash system, you can now see the Safeguard Snapshot Policy section, which allows you to check it and define a retention and frequency interval for all volume groups on that storage system. So every volume group in that Flash systems will automatically create a scheduled task in CSM using that frequency and retention. Now, you don't have to enable those automatically. So say you just want them built, but you don't necessarily want them all to start running right away. You can, by default, it's unchecked, But if you want everything to just automatically take off, so in other words, every time you create a new volume group, it just automatically creates and starts creating snapshots. We have an option there called automatically schedule a safeguarded snapshot policy. If you select that, you can define when you want it to enable, and we will automatically, after we create the scheduled task, kick it off and start running. So like I said, now it's fully automated. All you had to do was create the connection to the flash systems. And after that, every volume group, if you check that box, will automatically start taking safeguarded snapshots at the same retention frequency. Um, and any new one coming in will be added. Any ones you remove will stop running. It's all automated for you. So it's similar to how we did it in Safeguarded Copy 1.0 when there used to be a policy on the flash systems. Now we kept the policy on the CSM side and automated for you. All right, the next one is another Flash Systems feature. And what we did was simply add in the used capacity for each of these snapshots. So when you go into the snapshot details panel, there's now a new column called used capacity. And you can see right there, we'll pull the set used capacity defined on the storage system and show you what it is. All right, the next feature is tied to DS8000. So we'll switch over to the DS8000 side. So CSM needs a constant connection to DS8000 systems or any other systems, but we keep a constant connection. And whenever there's a disconnect, which can happen for multiple reasons, HMC issues or IP network issues, those kinds of things, we will throw out a message onto our console. The sessions will go severe. We'll send you email alerts, etc., indicating something happened. Now, because there's some higher availability cases, we didn't always put a reconnecting message on there because we thought the important part was that it disconnected and then, hey, somebody should go take a look. If it reconnects, great, but someone took a look. But we did get this request from a customer. Hey, we are looking at this, doing some automation against your console, the syslog or remote syslog. We want to see that reconnect message. And so we did that. We added that in for the customers. Once we reconnect, we do have a reconnect message now. You can catch that, see it. So in those cases where it's a hiccup, so you had a disconnect followed by a reconnect, maybe your automation can be set up so that you don't page out support or do not do anything. You know it's good, it's fine, etc. Now, with that said, you can do that as well with the session status. So again, if you lose connectivity, our session statuses will go severe as well. So if you're already looking at session states and statuses, you'll be able to notice that all the sessions went back to normal, and you can kind of look at it that way as well. But this is just to give it some synergy so that it's both disconnect and followed by the reconnect. All right, the next one is dealing with sessions that have metro mirror relationships. And we had is, well, CSM today already supported a property that you could put in the server, the CSM server properties, which would tell CSM to establish any metro mirror pairs or any pairs with inhibit target right. Well, a customer came to us and said, that's great, but server wide, but we want it on the session level and we want to see it in the session so you can see it right there. So yes, we added that in 6317. The sessions that have metro mirror relationships in them, so that's including multi-target sessions. If it has metro mirror relationships, you will now see that inhibit reads on target for metro mirror sessions or role pairs on that in the properties of the session. If you check that, the next time CSM does an establish for that pair, so if it's already established, it will have to suspend and reestablish. But any next time an establish occurs, that bit will be set and target reads will be inhibited. You won't be able to read off those targets. Okay, the next one has to do with creating log packages and diagnostic data. So today, CSM already creates its own log packages for certain error cases and issues that occur. But on the DS8000 side, you might have to today you have to manually go do it. We do have a button that lets you do that within CSM. Manually, you can go say, create an on-demand dump, warm starter, save the UI logs, but it's manual. And so what this request is for under certain conditions, if CSM also takes a log package, we want you to take the ODDs as well, the on-demand dumps, because this will help us make sure that we have the data we need to do the root cause analysis. There are too many times where we may have the CSM data collected, but support didn't come in to collect the DS8000 side of the data until later, and things are out of whack, and makes it very difficult to determine the root cause if we can at all. So starting with 6317, these are the conditions that CSM will automatically take ODDs for all DS8000s associated with the session that had the issue. So first one is any unexpected suspensions in Metromirror. So if Metromirror suspends, causing that freeze thaw condition, we will take the ODDs and the CSM log package. If there's an unplanned hyperswap event, we will take the ODDs. If there's a recover failure in global mirror relationships, we'll take the ODDs. And last is if there's any failure in creating a safeguarded copy backup, we will take the ODDs as well. Now, when I say any failure, I don't mean like, oh, you tried to take a backup before your allotted time, if you had that property set. I'm just saying if we go through the process and we go through the check-in thaw kind of process of the backup and that fails, the ODDs will be taken. Okay, the next one is kind of a nice little feature. We've enhanced our email notifications. So if you use email notifications in CSM today, you'll know that it's basically just a simple little text, little message. It's just the message, nothing fancy, doesn't say much, just text-based email notification. And that includes for dual control as well. So if you create a dual control request, and anybody that can approve it or deny it will get an email. If you do that, it was just a little text message. I shouldn't say text message. A text-based message email in your inbox. So in 6317, we've enhanced it. They're all full HTML-based email notifications now. So they have status icons. They have color-based visuals. They actually document put out the documented explanation for the message. So we pull from our docs, put that out, as well as the documented recommended action for that message. So you'll see all that within that message you get, that email you get. So you can so it's a lot easier for you to see the email, know what's happened, and deal with it, and not have to go into the server itself necessarily and have to manage it that way. And same for the dual control request. You'll see the dual control request is pending approval, or you'll see that it's got accepted or rejected, etc. So just a nice little feature to help make it look a little bit better. Okay, the next one is a request for customers that wanted to do scheduled tasks and wanted to schedule them on a weekend or holiday boundary, right? So this particular customer, their main business hours are Monday through Friday, and they don't run their business on weekends nor holidays. And so they wanted to be able to, in this case, suspend safeguarded copy backup creation and elongate retention. So we had delivered a feature that kind of did that before, but we didn't have the scheduling mechanism for it. So now we do. So now if you go into a scheduled task, there's a new start/end of weekend or holiday option. If you select that, you'll get the next panel will show you can choose from the start of the weekend or holiday or the end of the weekend holiday. And then you can set an offset. So the definition of the beginning of, say, the normal weekend, say your weekend is Saturday and Sunday. If you set it to the start of the weekend, that'd be 12 a.m. on Saturday, and the end of the weekend would be 12 a.m. on Monday. But you can choose an offset. So if you did start of the weekend and you wanted it to be you want to run at 6 p.m. on Friday night, you could say -6 hours, and it'll tell you there that's when it'll run. It won't actually run it at 6 p.m. Friday night before the weekend or holiday. And then we also have a set of pre-canned US-based holidays. So these are all US-based. Shows you what that algorithm is and how we determine when that holiday is. But you can set this and forget it. CSM in the future years will determine those holiday dates, figure everything out programmatically, so that you can just set and forget. Now, say there's not a holiday. Say you have your own holiday, or you're not US based, but you can add custom holidays as well. Click the Add Custom Holiday button. You'll get a little pop-up that lets you define it, either a hard set date or algorithm like you see there, like the X Monday of a certain month, that kind of thing. So with this, you can do any number of things, right? Kick off batch before the weekend, or kick off safeguarded copy backup before you go away on the weekend or end of business. Those kinds of things you can now do by simply scheduling in the CSM task. Okay, the next one, if you're not familiar with it, the SGCSizer session was created to try to help customers size their safeguarded copy environments. So when you create a safeguarded copy environment, you have to actually define backup capacity for all the volumes that you're going to create backups for. And that that backup capacity, it takes in what they call a multiplier of the size of the source volume. And SGCSizer session, what you basically do is set the properties, so you're setting it to run at a frequency, the query frequency that you would create your backups, so the same frequency that you would create your backups at. Say you want to do backups once an hour, you would set the monitor for once an hour. And so this goes to the hardware and tells the hardware, start collecting the data and tell me how many tracks have changed in between each of those hours for all the volumes in this session. And now it went in the past, what you would do is then you would export that raw data, that volume data, and import it into a spreadsheet that our expert lab services and ATG services had created, so that you could then get the recommendations. So see what multiplier applied to which volumes, etc. Well, obviously that was an extra step. You had to deal with raw data, put it into a spreadsheet, yada yada. Well, today I'm happy to say that in 6.3.17 you can do it all through CSM. So you can still do the raw data, but you don't have to. Now with the export SGC capacity recommendations, what you'll do is you'll get a prompt. You'll say, how many backups do I want to have during my retention period? So this is essentially your retention. So if you had if you wanted a backup an hour times 7 days, that'd be 24 times 7. You put that number of backups in that field, and we will then take the data that was collected off the hardware for all that frequency that you were pulling at, and we will produce the recommendations. So the same calculations that are done in the spreadsheet get ported to a CSV file, one line per volume, and it gives you the adjusted multiplier, which you can then apply to the actual hardware or decide to increase it if you want, etc. But there you have the CSV and the recommendation all in one step here. All right, along with all that, there's a new CSM dashboard as well. So we've been playing with a few GUI things, and this is one of them. If we improved our dashboard, it's kind of a pod-based layout, 6 pods here, and gives you charting instead of the generic. We had some pictures and dynamic pictures, but this actually charts it now. So you see the nice little donut chart that gives you the status. Well, you can actually flip that and see the session states as well. So that chart will flip. You can see your version of what you want. We have storage connections, ZOS or ZTPF host connections. You can see those, as well as active standby connections, local or remote, what those connection statuses are. So all from this chart, you have a lot more data. Before, we just showed you whether there's a connection error, warning, or whatnot. Now you can actually see how many connections are good, how many are warning, how many are bad, etc., as well as your active standby support. We also have a chart for the volume usage summary. So we did have volume usage before on the old health overview panel, but it was just textual with the numbers. It's just blah, blah, blah. Now you can see that chart-wise, a little line chart thing, and see how many volumes are being used, say in flash copy, how many are targets, that kind of stuff. And then we also have a couple other handy charts potentially for you. There's a percentage of replicated source volumes, as well as a use safeguarded capacity chart as well. So a lot of data to help give you a little more insights into your environment, all from the dashboard there. And this is a subtle mode that we're seeing here. If you liked the bright colors, the red boxes, the green boxes to catch your eye. You can click under the dashboard there. There's a vibrant mode. Click that. You'll get your colors at the top of each of those pods. All right, the next one I want to talk about is the role pair panel pair table. So the role pair panel pair table didn't used to be a Dojo-based table. It was just a HTML-based table that was built dynamically because the pair table can be quite large, right? The pair table is as large as many copy sets you have in the session. And so we had to dynamically load that, and we had a technique to do that. And we never converted it to Dojo until now. So now it's an official Dojo table. And so what Dojo gives you is a few more features, right? One, you get a few more columns. So instead of just seeing the nicknames, you actually can see the source and target nicknames and full names. You'll see all the same columns you saw before, but you can also hide and unhide different columns if you don't care about them, do that kind of stuff. You can sort the columns. And more importantly, you can actually even filter the columns. So this idea was created primarily because the customer wanted to look up a certain volume in the pair table, and they couldn't. They had to scroll, and it was very difficult. Now there's a little filter box. Type in the volume ID or volume nickname, and boom, you'll get that filtered table. So very feature-rich, nice addition to help you manage the pair table a lot easier. Okay, the next idea we implemented was tied to external scripts. So when you create a scheduled task that runs an external script on a different host, well, in 6.3.16, we added little pop-ups and little views, which would tell you all the list of actions. So like I'm showing there, it shows all the steps and actions within that task without having to go into it, little pop-up. But before this release, all it said was run external command on server X. You didn't know what the command was. If you had multiple external actions like this one in the same task, you weren't sure you set it up right because it doesn't really show you what you're running. It just shows you that you're running something on that other server. So we want to go a little bit further and probably give you a description. But as a quick helper for this idea, we decided, well, we're going to put the first part of what the command is. So if the command is run this command with some inputs, we'll put the command that you're getting run in the message here. So this case, these external tasks simply did a host name call to pull back the host name. So it says run external command host name on server yada yada. And so hopefully this helps give you a little more idea, a little bit of a better flow when you're looking at it from a view or a modified perspective. Okay, and the last work item I want to talk about, the feature in 6.3.17 I'm most excited about, and that is our support for ZOS threat detection. So if CSM is connected to a ZOS system or we're running on a ZOS system, and that ZOS system is set up with the IBM ZOS threat detection product, ZTD, often called, CSM will now start getting those alerts. So you need to install APAR OABLE 68665. And when you install that APAR through the connection, through the Hyperswap address space, we'll start getting those events. The events will tell us what volume it is, and CSM will then look up that volume in any of the sessions it manages. And there's multiple things that can happen. One, we will always issue a message to the console. So you'll see in that first message there, that IWNR 2270W, we say a potential threat has been detected by the ZOS for volume blah, 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 in session blah, 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 to do anomaly. That is the ZTD event. It came to us through CSM to the Hyperswap address space, and we handled it. Second thing that can happen is you can set up email alerts. So you can set up a user or a particular set of email addresses to receive threat detection events when you get them. So we'll email you right away saying, hey, there's a potential attack, go take a look. And then the last one I want to talk about is actually the scheduled tasks themselves. So we added this in 6.3.16 for FlashSystems, but you could take advantage of it now with the ZOS threat detection as well. When you create a scheduled task at the very top, there's an on event section now, which you can say, click it and say run task on a threat detection event. If you do that, The next screen will give you an option to choose a set of sessions to monitor for threat detection events. If any of these sessions that you select get a threat detection event, this scheduled task will run right away. So what can you do? Well, we demoed a FlashSystem solution where with Power HA and IBM last release, where we'd get the FlashSystems event, it'd kick off the scheduled task. That scheduled task would would create a snapshot real quick, and then it would call an external script which actually notifies the IBM side attack occurred and allow them to do their thing. With ZOS, you can do similar stuff, right? You'll get the event. Maybe you want to take a backup as well, safeguarded copy backup. Maybe you want to, not only take a backup but recover a backup. Maybe you want to suspend replication. And then one other feature you could do is, if you think really advanced, if you're running in a cascaded global mirror environment, the secondary side of the global mirror environment, the back leg of the global mirror, cascaded global mirror, it doesn't form consistent scripts unless the front end is suspended. So if you get one of these events, you could actually suspend the global copy relationships on the back end, thus isolating it. And because it's suspended, you know that any corrupted data from this encrypted event isn't actually getting to the journal volumes at the remote site. And so now you've isolated that event. You've stopped the safeguarded copy formation because you stopped those relationships. And you can leave the front end global mirror running to give you DR protection while you investigate this alert, right? Because alerts aren't always going to be true alerts, right? You may get a threat detection alert and it's a false positive. But this allows you to maintain DR. You don't have to stop all replication by doing this cascaded global mirror methodology. You can keep DR, isolate the back end, analyze the data, and if it's not a threat, just restart the backend. If it is a threat, recover off that remote volume, and maybe you don't even have to go through all the safeguarded copy backups. It's there already. That data was isolated. It's up and running. So IPL your systems off of it and pull the data you need if that's good. So hopefully, hopefully you're looking at the ZTD product. Hopefully you can now integrate it with CSM and manage it this way. Now we do support it through SIEM and SOAR providers. So I believe ZTD can throw events that way. So if you throw it to a SIEM provider, it can call our REST APIs, et cetera, and invoke actions. But now this makes it easier. If you're using CSM, we're connected to Z, you get it right away. So with that, I want to end it by the way I always end it. We look at your ideas. Please open your ideas. We prioritize them based on your votes. We look at all your ideas and we try to implement them. You can see we implemented a number of your own customer ideas in this release, and I'm very proud that CSM continues to do that release to release. So open your ideas, check out your ideas, vote for ideas. With that, thank you. Hope you enjoy the 6.3.17 release.